Hi, and welcome back to Crash Course Language. For those of y'all who don't already know me, my name is Dara. Today's topic is bilingualism, so let's get learning. I live in the great state of Texas, and here, high school students are required to take at least 2 years of a foreign language. However, many students find it incredibly difficult to learn a new language at that age. While some teachers are quick to dismiss struggling students as lazy or unmotivated, their struggle is actually justified, as research has shown that at the ages of 14 to 18, students are beyond the critical period for learning language. So what is the critical period? Well, the critical period for language acquisition is at its peak when we are born until around 7 years old. After 7, as we age, it becomes increasingly difficult for us to acquire a new language. After 7, as we age, it becomes increasingly difficult for us to acquire a new language. Now that being said, it isn't impossible for you to learn a new language in high school. However, it would require a significant amount of effort on the learner's part. So if the state of Texas really wants its students to be bilingual, they should offer foreign language courses in elementary school, preferably during kindergarten, 1st, or 2nd grade. Although the peak of the critical period for language acquisition extends until age 7, babies are the absolute best at learning languages. But what is it that makes them so good at it? That's what we'll explore next. So now that we know when the best time to learn a language is, we need to explore what makes babies so good at it. To answer this, we'll examine some predominant theories within the generative nativist approach to language. Chomsky is a pioneer within American linguistics, and he argues that underneath language is a system of rules that exists within our minds. This system has 2 parts: universal grammar and a language acquisition device. Universal grammar, or UG, refers to his idea that all languages of the world have similarities in their rules and that there is a general set of possible rules. So the differences between languages are restricted. So think about it like this. Within universal grammar, there are rules A, B, and C. Language 1 uses rules A and B, while language 2 uses rules B and C. If there is a language 3 that we don't know the rules for, Chomsky argues that its grammar rules would be some combination of rules A, B, and C. The language acquisition device, or LAD for short, can be described as a filter a child uses to learn the rules of their language. The child takes in information about their language from the environment and then compares it to the universal grammar to figure out which rules their language uses. Both universal grammar and the language acquisition device are described as innate, meaning that they are not learned and children just have them when they are born. Recently, Patricia Kuhl presented the concept of statistical learning. I'll link her full TED Talk in the description box below if you'd like to learn more. But basically, she explains it as children picking up on the regularities of a language by listening to input. Children then use the statistics they have taken to help identify the rules of their language. Statistical learning also falls under nativism because it describes the innate tendency to notice patterns. For example, a child might notice that words identifying a person, place, or thing, aka nouns, tend to be the first and last words in a sentence. Like in the sentence, John is running by the lake, John and lake, the first and last words, are both nouns. A child might also notice that words describing an action, aka verbs, tend to have an ing or ed ending, like the word running. So now that we know how children learn language in general, let's take a deeper dive into how children learn 2 languages simultaneously. There are 2 contexts in which a person can become bilingual. The first way is sequential bilingualism. This is when a person completely or mostly acquires a primary language before being exposed to a second language. The other way is called simultaneous bilingualism, also known as crib bilingualism. This is when a person hears and acquires 2 languages from birth or very early in life. We'll be discussing simultaneous bilingualism today. Not long ago, people used to advise parents who wanted to raise their child bilingually that they need to separate the languages. So when a family that wanted their child to learn English and French, it was advised that one parent only speak to the child in English and the other parent speak only in French. Isn't that crazy? Well, the main purpose of this technique was that the child wouldn't get confused and mix the two languages into one. However, this was an unnecessary extra step and would be quite difficult for families to implement in their normal lives. When children are learning two languages at the same time, they are able to separate the languages on their own. As we learned earlier, children take statistics on the patterns they hear. When a child is bilingual, they take statistics on both languages and have two separate sets of statistics. Studies have also shown that bilingual infants use prosody to help them distinguish between two languages. Prosody is the patterns of stress and intonation in a language. The infants then use that information to help them decide which language they should apply those patterns to. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for watching. Bye!